morning. We're going to do a little something different today, and we're going to take out a little tour. I'm at a place in San Jose, California, on Winchester Boulevard, and I am at the Winchester Mystery House. So please, whatever you do, watch this whole video. It's going to be very interesting. And it says here there's 10,000 windows, 2,000 doors, and 160 rooms. I think today we get to see about 110 of them. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching. About 5 months ago, I was out in California visiting family, and I had the opportunity to visit the Winchester Mystery House. Now, the Winchester Mystery House is a place that I've always wanted to see, and it's kind of funny because people that live in the San Jose area don't go to. It's like living in New York and never being in the Empire State Building. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a description on the owner of the home, Sarah Winchester. All right. Now, one of the things they do when you go on the tour, and it's quite a long tour, and it's well worth the money, in my opinion. The house is just magnificent. Sarah Winchester was very quirky, but I don't know if she had a right to be or not, but to each their own, right? So one thing they ask you to do on the tour is really don't touch anything. Don't touch the walls, the wallpaper, don't take video, but people take video even though they tell you not to. I did as well because I doubt I'll ever go back there. So one thing about Sarah is that her full name was Sarah Loftwood Parry Winchester, and she had 4 sisters and 1 brother. She was a well-educated woman, and she spoke 4 languages, and she played the piano and organ and the violin. And in 1862, at the height of the Civil War, she married William Winchester. Now, William and Sarah had grown up down the street from one another when they were kids, and they knew each other most of all their lives. And it was said that they were a very well-liked young married couple moving freely about some of New England's finest social circles in the day, and that's going back a ways. And even though their marriage began as a happy one, it didn't remain that way for long. And that's kind of sad. Because 4 years after they were married, in 1866, they lost their only child, which was a baby girl by the name of Annie, who died when she was 6 weeks old of a disease called marasmus. Now, I don't know what marasmus is, but if you feel like looking it up, go right ahead. 3 years after the baby died, in 1869, Sarah's father passed away in May of 1880. Sarah's mother died in December of that year, 1880. William's father and Sarah's father-in-law passed away less than 3 months after that in March of 1881. William died of tuberculosis. So that you can see, within a 15-year time period, Sarah's life really took a sad turn for the worst. She had a lot of personal loss in her life, and it was a great time of a sadness. So she moved out to California from the East Coast, and her two primary companions were her sisters, and you'll see the sisters in a picture as the tour goes through the house. And there's two sisters. One is called Isabel, and who was nicknamed Belle, and then Belle's daughter, Marin. The top of the picture I just told you about is in the loft, and Marin inherited all of the furniture from her aunt. And we will be in Mary's, and they will be in Mary's bedroom. We'll be going through Mary's bedroom in a little bit, and I will tell you more about her there. Sarah had a furry little four-legged companion you see at the bottom of the picture that we'll be walking by, and that companion's name was called Zip. And throughout Sarah's life, she lived a very productive life in the Santa Clara Valley for almost 40 years. And there's a lot of interesting information coming up, so stay with me. So at this point here, we're going into a big hall, all right? And this is called the hall office. And I don't know why they call it the hall office, but it's basically because there's three connecting rooms, right? Three connecting rooms. And the source of heat in these rooms are actually four fireplaces, all right? Four fireplaces. They have a coal and a gas fireplace. 3 hot air registers that will transfer that heat to other rooms in the house. One is at the bottom of the window in the first floor room, and the second one is in the corner of the floor in the room that we're currently in, okay? Now, Marion Marr was Sarah's niece, and you should see a picture in Sarah's bedroom. Sarah called Marion Daisy, and Daisy lived here in the house with her aunt for 15 years. And Daisy served Sarah as a personal secretary. And the room that we're in right now that I'm showing you was Daisy's bedroom. And you see an adapted Asian flair to the decor in the room. And the wallpaper on the top of the walls in both rooms were hand-painted in Japan. It is original. And the bamboo around the fireplace in the corner, all right, as well as the fireplace that we saw in the other room we walked through, was also imported from Japan. And in the corner, you'll see an 11 staircase that's called our 7-Eleven stairs. And the reason being is they're very, very short steps, okay? And when you take a walk up the stairs in the Winchester house, Sarah Winchester was a very short lady. And she was in pain because of arthritis, very bad pain of arthritis. She could only take very tiny steps, and I'm telling you, the height of the steps, if you're lucky, 2 inches to 2.5 inches. So when you go from like the first floor to the second floor, you're going to take a lot of steps. The steps are very, very deep. The steps are very deep, not this way. They're very short, but they're very deep because it has to cover that area. Mathematically, it just has to be like that. And it's a very, really strange house. And when you go from point to point in this house, if you've never been there before, you really have no idea what floor you're on because of the stairs. You go upstairs, you go downstairs, you go up half a floor, you go down a quarter of a floor, you turn, you go up a little bit. So the conception is it's not just a simple staircase, and because of that, you just don't know where you're going. So, for example, you'll go down the stairs in the landing, turn to the left, go down 6 steps into the laundry room, or you come back to the part of the house that we're in right now. You can go down 7 stairs, turn to your right, go down 6 more steps for a total of 13, but you'll be on a totally different floor, and it is very confusing. You simply have to go up, 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 up from here, and you have to go down, go down, go down, go down, all right? If you don't know where you're going in this house, because there's like 160 rooms here, you are going to get lost, all right? So let's continue on and take a look at more of the tour. So now that we've climbed the stairs, it's funny because we went up a lot of stairs, down some stairs, up some more stairs. We really only went up 3 foot total. And the problem is that the house is built this way because I don't know if you're familiar with Sarah Winchester or not, but the house was built this way because when her husband died, because of the Winchester rifle, that's where she inherited all her money from her husband. She was very afraid that the ghosts of every person that a Winchester rifle killed was coming to haunt her. So she built a house in such a way that she thought, in her mind, the ghosts would get lost and never find her. There's doors that open onto walls, there's passages, there's secret rooms, there's doors that go nowhere, there's stairs that go nowhere. It's amazing that over the course of 40 years, this house was constantly under construction. And, windows that open onto nothing, just the weirdest thing you've ever seen. But that was her particular taste, and that's the way it went up to. Now, the room that we're in right now, with these light wood cabinets, they were used to hold a ton of bolts and bolts of fabric and other linens, and they were conveniently located above the laundry room. And the reason for that is if they were used on the tables or dining, then they could just throw them down a chute and they'd be in the laundry room ready to be cleaned. All right. At this point in the tour, they keep reminding you, no flash photography, don't lean against anything, and that's kind of where it is. So they asked what kind of wood was in the room. All right, that light wood cabinet where they stored the bolts of fabric. I said it was maple. And the guy said, well, you must be from Rhode Island. And that was true. It's amazing. It's wonderful. And he told me it was wrong. They have a lot of people in the house, and he'll point out some of this room. All right. Now, some people said it was oak. Some people said it was elm. Some people said it was walnut. Some people said it was redwood. Now, however, it's funny because the walls were actually painted, and you couldn't tell that the room was actually painted or if it was actually real wood because it was spot on. And that's an interesting piece of the house that you'll see as we continue on the tour. So this room that we're in right now that I'm pausing at is called the Daisy bedroom. And that is because of all of the beautiful stained glass you see here that are full daisies. This was Sarah's original bedroom, okay? And on the other side, you see two pictures showing what the house looked like around the turn of the century. And then at that point in time, they had a 7-story tower. So we're standing right in the Daisy bedroom, okay? And it was in this room where Sarah was sleeping very peacefully at 5:12 in the morning on April 18th of 1906, when she suddenly found herself awoke by a force of shock of the great San Francisco earthquake of 1906. Now, it was only a few seconds after that, for the shock to wake Sarah up, that the San Andreas fault to let loose with all of its fury, and what would turn out to be the second worst natural disaster in the history of this country. The quake registered 7.9 on the Richter scale. 3,000 people died, and over 400,000 people were left homeless from that earthquake, lasting between 45 and 60 seconds. The earthquake actually caused a fireplace in the corner to collapse and a basement below, which then caused the wall behind where I'm standing to shift, pinning the very door shut that Sarah and trapped her in her bedroom for hours, okay? And she was trapped in there for hours before workers could find her and release her. Once she was able to get out of her bedroom, she was actually so terrified by what had happened that she simply left the mansion and she went to stay in a houseboat that she owned on the outside of Burlingame on the San Francisco Bay. Now, the legend says it that Sarah took the earthquake as a warning from the spirits that she had spent entirely too much money on the front part of the house. And Sarah altogether spent $5.5 million in her day on the entire house. And I don't know, you'll have to do the math, but I'll let you figure that out, what it might be equal to today. Well, I guess when you think about it, right? I guess that could have been a reason for the earthquake personally. And to realize the damage was so great to the front of the house, the first part she built, the most elegant part of the house, could never be restored, whatever the case, because it had the front 30 rooms of her mansion boarded up. And they remained boarded up, okay, until after her death, which is why you're just seeing all of this earthquake damage now. When you walk through parts of the house are magnificently Victorian era. Beautiful. There's other parts of the house, like one of Sarah's original bedrooms, that you walk through, that all the plaster is just broken right off the wall. There's fireplaces that are cracked open and broken. And these have been left to show the exact damage on the day of that San Francisco earthquake. And that's the remnants of what it is. So as you look around and we walk through these rooms, and some rooms are beautiful, and other rooms are absolutely looks like a construction zone. Those are the rooms that were left intact the way it was after the day of the San Francisco earthquake. Just a little piece of information that you might find interesting. Okay, let's continue. Now, one of the interesting facts was there's basically, I think Sarah's inheritance was over $11 million back in the day, a tremendous amount of money. And she spent $5.5 million of that building this house over the course of 40 years. This is something that I find very interesting. When you go through this house, and as quickly as you can move through a 160-room mansion, the people up on the 4th floor, and they were going to walk past a worker's bedroom. But as you step out this door, please look to the left, and you will see the top side of the light that we were told about seeing. All right. At one point in time, Sarah had between 50 and 60 employees that worked in the house full time. To me, that is just mind-boggling, and obviously those had to be paid for. So let's go back to the earthquake for a second, because after the earthquake, and we're going to go on a balcony back inside one of these rooms, you'll see the bell tower of the house, and that bell started every night at midnight and 2 a.m. And this was done to supposedly release the spirits and get rid of them from the house. So at 12 a.m. and 2 a.m., the bell in the bell tower would be rung to get rid of the spirits. That's kind of very, very strange, but it is what it is, right? Now, at one point of the tour that you come across, there is actually a window in a floor. Again, one of the strange oddities of the home. Again, it was put there to confuse the ghosts, and it wasn't a very well-lit room and not a very well-lit window, all right? So what they did was they put the window on the floor with the skylight directly above it, which is kind of strange, right? And it helped provide light to fill the bottom floor of the home. So you had a skylight, you had windows in the floor. Obviously, there was a railing around it for safety purposes. And that light from the skylight would come down through the house, and it would light up the rooms, because back then you didn't have the convenience of electricity. You just had, in her case, she had some natural gas for gas lanterns and things like that. So it's just kind of way that people lived back then, all right? Now, laundry was a 2-day affair, all right? You had to put your water on the stove and pour it in a large wash tub to heat the water up to wash things. Then you would run it through a wringer or some kind of a mangling device to kind of agitate the laundry. And then you'd hang the clothes on the line to dry, and once you brought them in, you had to iron, fold, and put away. Sarah Winchester did everything that she possibly could to make life easy as possible for her workers, which means in the laundry room, she had four porcelain sinks that you would call a laundry trace, and all over the place of those sinks, in the center of those sinks, they have built-in washboards. All 4 sinks have fossils, faucets for hot and cold running water, and that's a lot back in that day, all right? Now, you can see this in the corner at the countertops. You can fold that down over the top of those sinks, right? After you're done with the laundry, you can fold, there's something that will fold down over the top of the sinks, and that will give you an area where you can actually fold the clothes, and that's somewhat important. You'd have to iron, fold your clothes, put them away. It was just that you think about it. You've got 40 or 50 people working in the house. You've got the family, Sarah and her nieces, and it is incredible, but the amount of time it took to run the house with those amount of people, I just couldn't imagine that. I do want to mention that everything in the house for Sarah revolved around the number 13, okay? So if there was a design on a wall, there were 13 pieces to it. If there were panels in the ceiling, there were 13 panels. If there was paneling on the wall, there were 13 pieces of it. If there was a design on a faucet handle, and it might have had a leaf on it, there were 13 pieces of the leaf. Every drain in every faucet, every sink or bathtub in the house, guess what? Had 13 holes in the drain, all right? She was obsessed. She was absolutely obsessed with it, all right? Now, you can imagine a grand ballroom, all right? Now, the average house in Santa Clara Valley back in the day cost $2,700, all right, to buy. The grand ballroom in Sarah's house cost $9,000 to build alone. One room in the house took more than 3 times an average house in its day, and it's the only room in the house, in Sarah's house, where she enjoyed an outside architect, and the rest of the house she simply told her workers what she wanted them to build. They built it for her on a day-to-day basis. If folks were going to be in this room for a little bit, there's plenty of room, you can see, and the grand ballroom is just, well, I'm just going to let you look around because I'm going to pan around with my camera, and I want you to see, all right? Now, you can take time to count if you want. There's very large panels, all right? Now, around the room, there are large panels, and those panels are made up of smaller panels, and if you want to count them, you'll find that there's 13 small panels and each of the large 8 panels in the chandelier in the center panel. These are all imported from Germany, all right? And I'm confident that you can tell me how many gas lights were on that chandelier when it arrived, right? It was 12. So that was a problem. So she had the workers fix it so that it would be 13 gas lights. The story about Sarah Winchester can go on and on and on. And I'm pretty sure that I've told you so much of it right now. So I'm going to let the tour continue a little bit, and I'll be back with you. Now, this part of the tour is pretty interesting. What we're looking at right now is the Venetian dining room. And this is where Sarah ate all of her meals after the 1906 quake. It was called the Venetian dining room because it has an influence of Venice, Italy. And if you see the low dark wood ceiling and the ornate woodwork and marble in the fireplace, and you'll see costumes worn in the Winchester family. And it took a little over 6 years to put this room together. That's how ornate and intricate it is. So in this tour, we're at a point coming to the end of the tour, okay? Now, we have walked through, at this point, 110 of the 160 rooms in the home, all right? It is just amazing. Now, I'm just going to read a couple of stats about the house. The home has 160 rooms. It's a slightly unusual Victorian house of, now listen to this, 10,000 windows, 2,000 doors, 52 skylights, 47 fireplaces, 40 staircases, 40 bedrooms, 13 bathrooms, all right, 6 kitchens, 3 elevators, 2 basements, and 1 shower in the 13 bathrooms. Now that's amazing. So with that part of the tour ending, it was a pleasure to take you on the journey with me, and I would like to let this video run out and want to thank you for spending time with me to watch it. Thank you.